Traveler back here on National Geographic Weekend. I'm Boyd Mattson. And then he wandered for 40 days and 40 nights in the back of a bus in the wilderness, going from Washington, D.C. to the very tip of South America. He is Andrew Evans. We had him on the show before talking about his trip to Antarctica by bus. Well, in the last part by boat, because the bus wouldn't float from Tierra del Fuego. He's back now because his writings about this adventure are appearing in National Geographic Traveler magazine. Welcome back, Andrew.
Thank you.
The article in Traveler, though, is just about the bus trip portion.
That's
what it was
correct.
like. 40 buses, 40 days. A bus a day was the average.
Yeah, it worked out that way.
And the article in Traveler talks about the experiences, which were essentially seat-of-the-pants travel. This was not, the tickets were not all bought in advance.
That was the point. I wanted to make a trip that wasn't planned. I think unplanned travel is the best. And I bought the first ticket and left and just wanted to see if it would work, not knowing any day, if I could get a bus to the next place or where I would go exactly.
When you're traveling in countries, Central American countries where there are a lot of robberies, some South American countries where kidnappings, bandits hold up, take the valuables of the passengers, and unfortunately sometimes the lives of the passengers. You talk about where there was this sudden noise on one bus, and everybody was afraid to get off, thinking it might be bandits or kidnappers outside the bus. So you just sat there inside wondering, what happened?
This was in Colombia, and I was sure that our bus was being hijacked. I had read the State Department reports about how it happened. I'd heard the stories, and they normally would throw a log across the road to stop the bus, and that's exactly what it felt like when the bus hit something and we kind of rolled off.
So you rolled off the road.
We did.
It was like hitting a roadblock.
It was very much like hitting a roadblock, and I felt the tire, the axle brake. It was the bus was incapacitated, and nobody, the passengers were terrified. They did not want to get off the bus, including the driver.
Now he could see what was in front of him.
He couldn't. It was pitch black, and the lights had been knocked out of the bus as well. And he was sitting in the front seat, absolutely frozen.
The lights were out before or after he hit the
After he hit.
But he still couldn't see.
He
had no idea what he hit. He may have been asleep.
Maybe he didn't. Nobody knew what was going on.
So he's afraid to get off. The passengers are afraid to get off. How long did you sit there before someone said, "Let's open the door"?
Well, I'm the one who got off first. I would rather know what was going on. And I said, if we are being hijacked or surrounded, me sitting on the bus isn't going to help any situation. So I went to the front of the bus. I was already sitting quite close to the front, but I stood up and I went up to the driver and he opened the door and I stepped out first.
And then he followed?
And he followed, and there was nothing there. It was just a beautiful night, middle of the night in Colombia.
What had you hit? You had to have hit something.
We hit a cow. and with the driver, we discovered the cow. And I was the only one that had a light as well. I had my trusty National Geographic flashlight, and we walked back a good 300 meters before we found the cow.
And there was dinner waiting for you. All it needed was barbecuing.
Well, it's surprising you say that because the culmination of the story is that they did have to butcher the cow then and there. There are very strict rules about hitting animals, and you have to contact the rancher. And we tried to move the cow, and it's too big, so they ended up butchering it on the roadside. We're
talking with Andrew Evans here on National Geographic Weekend. His article in the September issue of National Geographic Traveler magazine is the backstory on his bus to Antarctica trip, of which you tweeted and blogged, and the posts were going up every day when you actually did the trip, and now you just have written a little more about the bus trip portion. You got some great pictures along the way, but this is a lot of work because you're a writer.
That's right.
But now suddenly in the new age, you have to take stills, you have to take little flip videos, cell phone pictures, post it up to the internet. You have to be a tech nerd.
Yeah, it's a real challenge, but it's a fun challenge because what it really comes down to is storytelling. And, you tell stories through words and you practice that, and that's what you get paid for. And suddenly you're saying, hey, I can tell a story on Twitter, which is a very new format. It's very new and very exciting, and it's very interactive. And that was a fun part of this trip, is that I wasn't traveling alone. I had 3,000 people who were with me every day, who were checking in constantly. And a lot of them were just keeping it open on their computers in the day so they could follow along where I was. The same with the video. That was a real new aspect for me, to be shooting this high-definition video on a very small camera and uploading it the same day, often within the hour, so people could see where I was and what I was doing.
One of the pictures you got was from the salt flats in Bolivia. it almost looks like it's been hand-colored. It is so extraordinary because the salt flats that particular day were not just a dry former lake bed. It had a lot of water. So it was the saltwater flats.
Yeah, it was completely otherworldly to see the colors and to think I was going to a desert, and it is a desert, but it's wet. And it's also so high. It's the Altiplano. You're at about 14,000 feet up. I got tremendously sunburned that day with the reflection off of the water and not knowing, because it was cold, because it's the Andes. So it's a really strange combination of geographies, but stunning.
And the salt flats, here in the United States, most people are familiar with the Bonneville Salt Flats, famous for setting land speed records because it's a big, flat, open plain. But this salt flats in Bolivia, 40 times the size of the Bonneville Salt Flats.
That's
dwarfs
correct.
it.
That's correct. They're huge, and to drive across them on a bus, and it's like being on a different planet.
And that was one place you say you would like to go back.
Definitely, lots more places to explore there.
Well, as it turns out, Andrew is going to a lot of places soon, and this works so well, this connection with National Geographic Traveler and nationalgeographic.com. Go online and follow along with Andrew's trips, that we're extending the franchise, and soon, probably beginning December,
That's
you're
right.
going to do this. December, you'll be able to go to Twitter and follow at Where's Andrew. No apostrophe, just Where's Andrew, all one word, at Where's Andrew. And people have to guess where
That's
you
right.
are by your descriptions and pictures.
That's exactly right.
Follow you around the world.
All over the place.
All over the place. So you might think, Salt Flats, he's in Bonneville, but no, he could be in Bolivia. It's going to be an interesting, this will be something new, different. Every day there'll be a posting of your journey, right?
That's right.
Photos and stories.
Photos, stories, blogs, video, and we're having a game on ng.com where you can guess. Every day there'll be a photo clue, and you'll have to guess where it is that I'm at.
Prizes?
Perhaps.
Perhaps. Just the fun of playing along. For participating, Andrew Evans, thanks for taking us on your last trip and getting us excited about the next one.
Thanks so much for having me.